With that, we are shifting to another crucial debate and another important story that came from a statement that went viral on social media. A statement from the former judge of the Supreme Court, Justice Indu Malhotra, has gone viral. In this statement, the judge is heard saying how there are repeated attempts to control Hindu temples that have been made by various governments. The judge in this old statement makes a specific comment on communist government or the governments formed by the left parties. This has once again sparked off the debate around the control of temples by the government and to what extent should the government interfere in the management of temples. This interference and management is one of the much criticized conundrums of independent, secular India. The 5 states of southern India make up for over 90,000 temples and more than that, and the revenue runs in hundreds of crores. As we dive into the debate, first let's listen in what Justice Indu Malhotra said earlier.
That's what happens with these communist governments. They want to just take over because of the revenue. Their problem is the revenue. All over they've taken over. All over. Only Hindu temples. So Justice Lalit and I said, no, we will not allow it.
So that's the debate we are asking today. Should the temples be completely free from government control? Various steps have been taken in various states across the country, to a great extent in the state of Uttarakhand as well. Is that a model that can be replicated in other states as well? Joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. Now, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, thank you so much for speaking to us on the broadcast. You're somebody who has raked up this issue multiple times in the public domain. The comments made by Justice Indu Malhotra, they talk about the control of the temples. It has once again sparked this debate. To what extent should government control temples? And as far as the judge's statement is concerned, how much of substance do you really find in that comment?
Well, she was in Kerala, I think, when she made that statement. So communists were ruling, so she must have said communists. Otherwise, I'm 100% certain. She's a very smart lady and now, of course, retired. But she knows the subject well, and I fully agree with her if she says that government control of temples is bad, and if at all there is some problem with the financial mismanagement in a temple, the government can intervene temporarily to rectify that. That's a judgment given by the Supreme Court in my petition, and the judgment was given on 2014 by the then Supreme Court judges. One of them was in fact Bobde, who later became Chief Justice.
Well, sir, as you rightly said, this is the issue in Kerala and I'm sure in other parts of the country as well. You're one of those people who have repeatedly spoken about this issue in the public domain. There is limited effort that have been made by various governments in this regard. What explains this political reticence?
Well, I forced several governments to fall back. For example, our BJP government in Uttarakhand, they nationalized all the temples. I mean, 104 temples and Char Dhams, the entire thing. And then I went to court. And as a consequence of it, they had to withdraw that from all the temples. Now the temples are free in Uttarakhand. And this is when BJP is in power. BJP has also done something wrong in Maharashtra, in Pandharpur, and I'm going there on the 15th of September. And I will take that up also. I have taken up Tirupati, and it is halfway through. Usually the problem, like in Kerala, of Padmanabha Swami temple, or generally all the temples in Kerala, we don't the court asked me only one question: okay, we remove the government, then who does it go to? Some places it becomes very clear who you should go to. For instance, Tamil Nadu, the Sabanayak Shiva temple went back to the people from whom it was snatched. The Dikshitas, as they were called, they were the pujaris of the temple, and they owned the temple. So I think what the country needs, and I think the Prime Minister in fact should take the initiative in this, the country needs a gathering of top of our sannyasis of our country who are known for their scholarship, who are known for their reputation and so on, and bring them together and drop a plan. There are 4 lakh temples which are in the hands of governments in different states.
Yeah.
This is not the job of the government. Yes, the government, if financial mismanagement is there, they can intervene, set it right, and then get out of it. But they can't be the managers of a temple. Like in Tamil Nadu, which I have taken up, they are even appointing the pujaris. Now, DMK doesn't believe in religion. How can the DMK properly appoint a pujari? Anyway, I am saying no government should appoint a archaka or a pujari or whatever you want to call it. So, therefore, freeing the temples, no other religion, Islam, Christianity, etc., none of them have any government intervention. Why this special love for Hindu temples, I don't know, of the government of India.
Dr. Swami, my last question to you. The judiciary has also played a very important role in the dynamics involved between the government and the various temple boards. Specifically with regard to the role that the Court of Records, High Court and Supreme Court have played, what kind of role do you see from the judiciary in the past and in the future?
Well, I would say that whatever role they played has been excellent, but it's not sufficient. They are not able to enforce. For example, Sabhanayaka judgment of 2014, which was where I was the petitioner, the Supreme Court said no government can interfere in the functioning of any temple. Certainly in financial mismanagement, briefly, maybe 4 years or 5 years to set right the things, but religiously never. All temples must hereby be freed from government control. No one is freeing it. And when I go to the court, they say, well, we have given the order, you go and get it implemented. So I go to the state governments, they all say, oh, well, you know, this is not the interpretation, that is not in the interpretation. This has happened to me several times. So I would like the government of India to bring a bill in the parliament to say government will not interfere in the religious functioning of any temple anywhere in India.
All right.
That is the only way we can give liberty and freedom to our temples.
Dr. Swami, it's always a pleasure to speak with you on this issue. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. I appreciate your time. Well, also joining us on the show is Rahul Ishwar, who's an author and activist. Debating this important issue tonight is also Professor Dinesh Varshney, who's a CPI leader. Professor Varshney, coming to you first. I want your reaction on what Justice Indu Malhotra said, because I'm not drawing a conclusion from that short excerpt that has gone viral. But she does make a reference to the communist governments.
Look what Justice Indu Malhotra has said. She had been a justice. She should know. It is not only the temples in the Kerala, including there are so many temples in the country ruled by the various governments of India, including the BJP government, including the other political party government. We are of the opinion these temples, you have seen what has happened in the Ram Mandir Trust recently, what level of corruption is there. The people are fighting each other. Therefore, we believe that there should be a trust, and trust must have the government nominees. This is what it is there in Kerala. This is what there in the Jammu and Kashmir. This is what there in Tamil Nadu, Palaniswamy temple or any other temple. What Mr. Swami, Dr. Swami has just said, there are 4 lakh temples. I don't understand. When temples are visited by the people of the state or the people of the India, how do you say that they are the private property? The government of the states, the respective states, has to provide the public facilities, the security and other arrangements.
I think Professor Varshney, the debate is not over personal versus public nature of temples. The debate is rather about the active management, the Shabiyat rights, when it comes to the worship at the temples. That's the debate.
Never ever the worship matters has been intervened by the trust or the governing councils of the temple. Never ever. We have never got a complaint.
Rahul, Please come into the discussion.
Can I point out one thing?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can I point out two things? One, it was a blatant intervention by the leftist government in Shabarimala, which we saw. They wanted to demean and defame the temple, but devotees resisted, and at the end of the day, we won. And please remember who is Justice Indu Malhotra is. One of the most reputed, balanced judges in our Indian judiciary. Our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi went on to take her name and applaud her for the courage of that judgment. Against 4 senior male judges, Indu Malhotra ji stood her ground. And at the end of the day, Indu Malhotra ji's judgment on Shabarimala proved to be true. So she is a person of great ethical courage. And we arranged a reception for her in Kerala. People like Madhusudan and Poti and devotees arranged. And she was talking in a very light manner to the devotees, saying that the atheists, the far left kind of people are trying to take over the management of the temple. And please remember, what we are demanding is just a simple thing. Just like our Christian brothers have a right over their church, just like our Muslim brothers have a right over their mosque, we Hindus need to have a right over our temples. This is guaranteed under Article 25 and 26 of Indian Constitution. This is our fundamental right, and just like every community is having a right of their own worshiping place, we need to have. Government can be in a facilitator role, but government should not intervene and take over the temple. And please remember, India got freedom in 1947, but this British government attitude of temple being under state government has still not been liberated. Even after 75 years of independence, our temples are still under the government, and our gods or deities are still inside some kind of a government custody. So the only request is Article 25 and 26 should be put into action. Our fundamental right of governing, administrating our own places of worship should be guaranteed. Believers, devotees, deities, they should come to the temple. And please remember, government has not created any temple. It is the devotees and the devotion towards the deity that has created temples. So the ownership, the control should go to the devotees, and devotees should have the primary right in saying.
Rahul, also respond to the point that Professor Varshney was making in terms of the feared corruption that can happen in temple boards and trusts if there is no government oversight. If there's no government oversight.
It can happen anywhere. Please remember, governments are some of the most, with due respect, some of the governments are the most corrupt bodies in the entire world. We have seen such huge, massive corruption scams. If there is corruption inside temple, church or mosque, we need transparency. We need people punished who are there. But please remember, it cannot be a pretext and a mask to take over the temples. And this is only a mask and a guise to take over the temples. And Supreme Court also in the Tamil Nadu temple case has pointed out that corruption cannot be a pretext to take over temple, or mismanagement cannot be a mask to take over
if different communities across the country, whether it's the Muslim community or the Christian community or various hundreds of sects and different religious ethos surviving in India, can manage their own religious affairs, why this special love reserved for the majority community?
This is the biggest fraud of the logic.
Okay, explain that to me.
Logical fraud. All the Muslim mosques and the Muslim properties in religious matters are being governed by the Waqf Board, and the Waqf Board has the government nominees.
Okay.
The church has their governing council since historical background, and their governing council of a very different nature. We have not heard the corruption in the churches. We have heard the corruption in the other places.
Sir, with utmost respect, are you saying the level of interference or oversight that a government has in a Waqf board is actually comparable to the manner in which the government almost controls the temples? Are you really equating the two? I am not unaware, or I am not ignorant of the government nominees on the Waqf properties. They are there in the Waqf board under the specific act which has been passed by the government of India. But the interference pertaining to the matters of Hindu faith and temples is much, much wider in scope.
You tell me, has anybody stopped the prayers or anything in any temple of the country? Nobody. Sabarimala temple, what Rahul Ishwar has said, the Honorable Supreme Court said there should be equity between male and female to pray the God. They said no, women cannot pray of all ages. How can you allow the 21st century or 22nd century this nonsense that women are not equal to men? What is wrong if the communist government intervenes?
So while as a woman, even when the Sabarimala debate was going on, I have always supported the right of every woman to enter Sabarimala.
Yes.
But that also opens a Pandora's box for all religions and communities across the country. And if we have that stand on Sabarimala, there is a need for a wider debate for the scope of personal laws versus the fundamental rights. Then Article 14 and 21 should apply over all personal laws and ethos in this country. Then that's also an argument to make.
Okay,
Yeah.
I come to that. Always the laws are formed as per the customs and traditions of the respective religions. Nobody has objected to that in any country of the world. As far as uniform civil code is concerned, that depends on the historical background of the society and the countries and the regions and the country and the nations. Hence, you have to understand this thing in philosophical terms. You cannot understand only in the legal terms. You see,
Professor Varshney, I am very sorry I'm interrupting you there. I'm short of time, but this is a debate that should happen in the larger public domain, a debate that has been rigged up by various political figures, including the present Karnataka Chief Minister who spoke about it. And of course, Uttarakhand has already done that to a great extent. Rahul Ishwar and Professor Dinesh Varshney, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We'll continue this debate and much more lined up on the other side.